Are emotions running or ruining your business? I recently took a pause to reflect on this question, and I realized, yes, they are. But how? Welcome back to the Transaction Care Podcast. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily like the flower because we are learning and growing together. Welcome back. This is episode 62, and we are talking about emotions. So, thinking back to the last 6.5 years of being in business for myself, what that looks like, what I thought it would look like, moments and feelings and emotions in which I felt adequate or inadequate, isolated, joyful, optimistic, pessimistic, and so on and so forth, and how these experiences and emotions were impacting my next moves. Was I stagnant, reverting, or progressing forward? So this is what I want to talk about in today's episode in more detail. And of course, if you can relate, I would love to hear from you, whether it's a comment, a review, or you work one-on-one, or you join my exclusive TC community, which is on Patreon. So you can visit transactioncare.com to learn more about that and join the winning team. If you are a visual person, this particular podcast episode is posted on my YouTube channel, also under the name Transaction Care. So if you want to get a sneak peek into my office space, see what I look like, as well as more of day in the life content from me in my business and my life and my day-to-day, go to youtube.com/transactioncare, or simply again visit my website transactioncare.com. Everything lives there, and links will be in the description of this episode. Now let's get started. At the start of this series, I said, you know what? It's going to be a 10-week series where I invite you into my life as a business owner. Having turned 40, I was like, you know what? This is it. This is my starting over season, my fresh start that I've been craving and needing, and everything that I've done in the past to work, to put in the work, to do the work, to get to know myself, to get to know my business, to get to know my next steps, to get familiar, to get out of my comfort zone. It's go time. You know, it's like I've been conditioning. I went through preseason, and now it's the regular season. It's go time. And now I'm working my way up to make the playoffs, to make the championship, to eventually make the Olympics, to be the greatest of them all, whatever that is, you know, whatever that means to me. So this is why it's important to get to know yourself, but also make sure you're checking in with yourself. So being kind of at the halfway mark of this 10-week series, I talked about starting over at 40. I talked about how I audited my entire life. That was probably one of my most light bulb, mind-blowing experiences I've had in a while, because we get caught up in the monotony of the day. We get caught up in our own routines and you know, expected and unexpected life occurrences, but we don't ever really take the time to be solo, to be still, to check in with ourselves for at least an hour a night, tapping into how is my mental health? How is my physical health? How are my finances? How is my spiritual health, relationship? How do I still like these clothes? Do I need to add curtains in here? Do I need to get rid of things, add things, you know, and just seeing what's bringing value into my life, what's not, and really sitting down with, you know, taking the time to do that from that moment on. Because the weekend before that, I found myself getting caught up in my emotions. So go back and watch that vlog. But after that, we talked about my game plan, what I'm struggling with. And here we are now, discussing just the emotional aspects of running a business, checking in, and how that's important. So, you know, even prior to doing my self-audit, I noticed that I was going through an emotion. I wanted to give up. I felt myself giving up. I kind of did give up. And then something in me was like, don't do that. Do not give up. And I know when I have those major, like, don't give up moments, that my life is going to accelerate. Things are going to change. Things are not going to look the same as they did just 24 hours ago. And that's exactly what happened. So I've been on this journey of being more consistent, doing the things that I said I was going to do a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And I'm producing the content that I've been wanting to produce here, as well as on my second channel that I have, documenting my personal journey and building a coaching business, establishing what that looks like, whether it's solo or in a group environment, deciding, hey, what are my next moves going to be, not just for this moment of being in survival mode, not just in this moment of having a lack mentality, a scarcity mindset, not in this moment of I don't have enough, I feel inadequate, I feel like giving up. Take some time to stop, like we are right now. This is simply just a check-in. Ask yourself, how are you doing? After reviewing and doing your audits and starting to implement new changes into your day-to-day routine, or even the way you speak to yourself, that's always important as well, because it starts with you. And that's what I had to learn, is I was allowing certain emotions. I was allowing myself to dwell in certain emotions. I was taking things personally, dwelling and just suffering in silence for no reason, for nothing. Waiting for someone to pull me out of my own despair, waiting for someone to notice I'm a sad gal right now. And that's just not how life works. I just wanted to come in here and make sure that we're all doing okay. This was a quick check-in. For me personally, overall, I would rate where I'm at today at a solid 8. I teeter between a 7 and an 8. Have I had 10 out of 10 moments? I've definitely had 10 out of 10 moments, but I've also had 0 out of 10 moments as well throughout this journey. And having the tools in place, with my imaginary toolbox. If you've had a one-on-one with me, we've talked about our imaginary toolboxes and digging into those resources and getting back into even praying more and spending time with God and renewing my faith. I've seen so much improvement in my own self-love, in my own courage, in my own discipline, in my day-to-day, that those moments when I just am feeling like crap or feeling yucky, and I know it's not just, a nap isn't going to work or going for a walk isn't going to work. It does help, but sometimes I just need to be still and go inward. And that has worked best for me. So I feel like I've been able to maintain a solid 7 and 8 over the last few months. And the moments, and when I say 7 and 8, I mean like the majority of my days and time have been up, right? Mentally, emotionally. And my relationship with money has been just like this. It's been like this. So you're not alone if you're feeling like this. Of course, we want it to do this. We want it to go up. But it has been more like choom, choom. And that experience alone has taught me so much about myself and my relationship to my self-worth and my identity, and how I was making money and clinging to money as my identity, and how I valued my self-worth. And once I removed that aspect, or began to the process of removing that mindset, things got so much better for me. Knowing knowing my minimums, knowing my maximums financially, knowing this is how much it's going to cost to have additional fun outside of my house with my friends. Oh, I went over budget. Okay, so maybe I have to reevaluate that number, or maybe not say yes so often. Or when I do, I need to communicate to the people I'm out with and say, hey, I'm on a budget this week. I'm either not going to drink, or I won't be able to treat as much as I used to, as much as I usually do. Or perhaps we can reschedule. It goes both ways. And that's something I also had to learn, is I was taking it personally when I couldn't afford to do something, but then I would go out and do it anyway. And then I would resent everyone because I didn't have a good time. And it's just this vicious cycle, and those thoughts and those mindsets were bleeding into my business when certain things didn't close or things were getting delayed or I lost clients. I would just dwell and sit in that yuck for longer than I needed to. So doing all the work, checking in with myself occasionally, checking in with you all occasionally, has made me realize that it's okay to celebrate your wins. It's okay to fail. It's okay to pause and be still. All of it is okay. As long as I'm progressing and knowing where I need to go and doing the work that I need to do to get there, then I'm fine. So with that said, I hope you are doing well. This was a quick check-in. Life is not going to be perfect, but it is going to be amazing. So thank you again for tuning in to another Transaction Care Podcast episode. I am here to support you, encourage you, guide you, and be a resource in this industry that is real estate. And for those seeking self-employment or even an exit out of real estate, feel free to reach out to me. I do offer one-on-one coaching. I also have my community group on Patreon, which is a good time. That is actually where I post most of my training materials, exclusive content, whether it's a video, a worksheet, a checklist, a quote. It all lives on my Patreon. So visit transactioncare.com to access all of that information. Also, if you want to join me, I go live every week. At the recording of this episode, I go live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. on my YouTube channel, as well as my TikTok. Those are my two main platforms at the moment. So if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. That is where everything will live, which is on my YouTube channel, because it's a good time. I love YouTube. I also love doing this podcast. So thank you again for listening each and every week. We are in this together and we are having fun building businesses, building longevity, generational wealth, all of that good stuff. So thank you again for listening to another episode of the Transaction Care Podcast. My name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily, like the flower, because we are learning and growing together. And I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.